Hello, good morning. I'm Jesús Alejandro de la Sarsola, and I'm going to talk to you about the automobile evolution through history. Next slide, please. So let's start with that. First of all, can someone answer me what is the importance of the automobile nowadays? Yes, Erica?
It is important because it's the way that people move from one place to another.
Yes, you're correct. The automobile is one of the most important parts in the daily life due to the facility it gives us to transport us to everywhere, which is a safe way, secure, and even faster way. Now, I will present you a little bit about the business statement. The evolution of the automobile has been to great innovation, giving great help to people, the economy, and the industry. Through the presentation, the evolution of the automobile through history will be presented as their support for the industry and benefits that have been provided to the population. Next slide, please. Well, I'm going to present you a little bit about the outline. First, I'm going to talk about the automobile evolution through history, then about the important innovation for the automobile, and also the benefits for our industry and the society. Next slide, please. Well, first of all, the automobile evolution through the history. This is the first gasoline-powered vehicle patented in 1886 by Carl Benz on January 29th of the same year. Well, this was a three-cylinder vehicle with a horsepower of 2/3, which was a really high amount of power in that moment, but nowadays is something insignificant. Well, now I'm going to present about the automobile mass production in 1913, which was by the hand of Henry Ford on December 1st of 1913. Well, he presented the first power plant that manufactured the Model T, which is the most important car in the Ford history. And as a fact, the car, instead of being produced in 15 hours, now passed from 1 hour with 33 minutes. Next slide, please. Now I'm going to talk about the Model T, which is this car. It is the successor of the Model M, which was one of the most important cars of Ford. But now the Model T, it was tougher, lighter, and also, in fact, this car had a planetary transmission that made it easier to drive. And also the cylinder head was detachable, making it easier for the mechanical for repairing. Now, can someone tell me who is this person?
Sloan.
Yes, this is Alfred P. Sloan Jr., which is the founder of General Motors, and thanks to him, the General Motors had a great business plan for that crisis that the market, the automobile industry was facing. They plan to bring a great styling in manufacturing for the automobile, making it a great competitor for Ford, and also making it one of the most important brands in the nowadays also. Next slide, please. Well, now it's important to talk a little bit about the role of the automobile in the World War II. First of all, talking about the World War I, the automobile industry manufactured and provided many vehicles to the armies and also to the people for they could have great transport and also bringing them in the war. Now, in the World War II, but the automobile industry provided also a lot of cars in a bigger mass production for the army. In addition, the civilian cars were not produced at that time due to the great amount of army cars that were made. Now, also the expansion of the automobile market. Well, in the 1960s, due to many problems that American brands were facing many defects were presented in their models. For example, most of the models had 24 defects per unit, which is a huge amount of defects for one car, and these were mostly related with the safety of the car. Well, thanks to this, the foreign companies like Volkswagen, which is a German company, and the Japan companies were introduced to the automobile market, providing more quality, greater technology, and a better service for the customers. This helped to make innovations, making the American market to go down, and also the Germans and the Japanese to go up. Next slide, please. Now, thanks to innovation, many of the new inventions were introduced. For example, the first air conditioning was created in the 1940s by the Packard Motor Company, which introduced it for the first time in in a factory optional for the customers. For example, this air conditioner was in a price between $275 to $310, which was optional for the customers. And in addition, in the past, it wasn't called as the air conditioning. It was known as the mechanic refrigerator. Now, the seatbelts were introduced in the 1959 by Volvo. They were present in the models PV 544 and the Australia 120. This was a great advancement to reduce the mortality rate in accidents because the car were also showing more power and more velocity. It's like this. Now, I would like to talk about the intermittent windshield wipers, which were introduced in the 1961. Well, they were invented in that age. Well, they were invented by Robert Williams Gibbs, which tried to impulse the great companies like Chevrolet, Ford, and Chrysler to invest in his advancement. But they didn't want to invest in that invention due to they didn't think they had a future. However, 2 years later, Ford introduced this system in their cars, making it a great invention in that time, also making it safer for the people to drive easier and also to have a better panoramic and also a greater view for in the rainy days. Also, I would like to talk about the anti-lock brakes, which are an invention from 1971, which nowadays we call them as the ABS or the anti-lock system. This system is really important due to it helps to prevent many accidents. It helps to make the driving experience comfortable, more safer, and also to make it in a better way. For example, nowadays if you drive a car without this system, instead of slowing down in a faster way, what happens is that the four wheels start to lock, and instead of slowing down progressively, it starts to slip a little bit to the ground, making a car to have a little bit of instability and drifting a little bit. With this system, the four wheels start to automatically vary the way in which they are gonna brake, making it to brake in a short distance and to have a better stability of braking. Next slide, please. Well, now I would also like to talk about the airbags, which were introduced in the 1973. Well, the first airbags were invented by Ford in 1971. However, in the 1973, the Chevrolet started to make that process to validate it and also to check the parameters of security, checking if they were viable for the cars. And in the 1973, that same year, the Oldsmobile was the first company to introduce the airbags on their cars. Also, I would like to talk about the hybrid cars, which the first hybrid car which was in a mass production in the United States was the Toyota Prius. However, a Honda was planned to be introduced in the 1999, but for some circumstances, it wouldn't be introduced as a mass production car, which made this a Prius to be the first mass production car. This was the most famous car until nowadays as the most important hybrid car. Which is like this. Well, now we would like to talk about the driver assist features, which were mostly introduced in the 2010. Well, an example of these driver assist features are the collision prevention assist, which is a system that is helping to prevent most of the accidents. That, for example, you don't see a car which is in front or you're going backwards. The sensors are detecting the way in which the car is in front or in any position from you, and it automatically brakes, making the accidents to be prevented. And now, I will talk about a little bit about the Tesla Autopilot in 2014. Well, this system was mainly introduced to help the people to do their activities, to make a better way of driving, by the car driving by itself in the roads, and that people can do their activities in the car. Next slide, please. Now we'll talk a little bit about the benefits for the industry and the society. The first one will be the technological advancements. For example, thanks to the car industry and the many advances and innovation that have made, the technology has been evolving and evolving, making also the safe driving experience for the drivers, and also the job opportunities have increased with the great amount of automobiles we have nowadays. For example, the Uber, Didi, the taxis, and also the buses help people to obtain jobs. Now also the improvement of roads, it was derived by the huge amount of cars we have nowadays. The government needed to make better roads so the driving experience was safer. And also the efficient transportation nowadays we have, due to the great variety of cars we have, like pickups, sedans, coupes, hatchbacks, the SUVs, and the crossovers. Next slide, please. Now, in conclusion, the automobile is a great part of the history and has evolved exponentially due to the great advancements and innovations that have been presented in the past few years and also from the many 80s. Next slide, please. Now, we will pass the questions and answers. Somebody has any question? Yes?
What is your favorite car?
Well, it depends on the situation. For example, for a comfortable car, I would like a Tesla, which is more comfortable. It will let me do my activities while the car is driving, taking me to school or to the job. Also, for a more sporty driving, I would like to have a Camaro. And for a more practical way, I would like a pickup for the family and for my job. Another question?
Me.
Yes.
What would be life without cars?
Well, without cars, maybe many jobs will be lost because if you want it or not, the automobile industry is really important nowadays because it provides a lot of jobs. It helps people to arrive to their jobs on time. They help them to move from one city to another. If we couldn't have cars, we would have to walk a lot, or we would need to be in the bikes. Another question.
It is true that the automatic systems that recently have been created for the cars are making easy for the people to drive, but for the future, there would be like any other consequence towards the people. Like, would they be like with less skill to drive these vehicles?
Well, maybe this will happen depending on the driver and also the way in which every person would like to have a car. For example, some people are always trying to make their life easier, and they would like always to have an automatic car, which, well, an automatic car that will help them to arrive in their places. Like if they were in a taxi, they don't have a driver. Also, the people, I imagine that they would have the facility to say, I want you to drive it by yourself, or I would like to drive it by myself. Also, the assistance of for example, the collision prevention assist will also help the people to prevent the type of accident, and maybe it will help them to cause them to be less conscious of the problems that we have on our roads. And if in the case that this type of systems fail, they would suffer an accident. Another question?
Me, where do you see the future of the industry in your opinion? Like, what advancements would you like to see or like that?
I would like to see the automobile industry as a even evolving or more innovative industry because they could have a great potential of innovating systems like maybe the autopilot could be more perfected, or maybe the transmission systems or the engine systems will be more eco-friendly, and instead of using, for example, the electric or gasoline powered engines, we can use, for example, the hydroelectric energy, and also we could, well, the automotive industry will make more practical cars than nowadays. One more question?
Me. In your own words, or in your opinion, at what time cars became very common in terms of usage?
Well, I think that from the 1980s, from the 1990s, they started to be even more common. But from the 1970s, I think they started to be more practical and more seen than nowadays. For example, nowadays you see a lot of traffic and a lot of cars in the street, causing a lot of traffic. Any more questions? Thanks for your attention.